Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Haxenhunt. Today's video, we're going to be building this Hoyt Ventum 33. We're going to get it set up with a new sight, new rest, peep sight, D-loop, everything, get it tuned. But I'm not only going to just do these things, but I'm going to show you guys how to do it with very minimal tools and things that you don't really always have access to unless you go to your shop or spend a lot of money on some tools. So I have very few tools that we're going to completely tune this bow to where it is going to be shooting lights out. So anyway, if you want to see me build this Ventum 33 here at home with barely any tools, then go ahead and stay tuned. Alrighty, so first things first is you want to get the rest put on. So we're going to start with the rest, and we're going to be hooking it up with the Haxen Trinity Hunter Pro rest. This is a limb-driven drop-away rest. It's pretty dang durable. I've shot it a few times on some different bows. First things first, grab your bolt and your washer, and then with the Hoyt's kind of back handle riser here, you got to kind of sneak it in there. It is a super tight fit, but it does fit. What you're going to do is make sure that this set screw, before I screw that on, make sure that your set screw is backed out just enough that it is not hitting your riser. So you can just feel back there. That feels perfect. You're going to get your bolt with your washer into the bolt, into the threads there, screwed in by hand. I don't like having that touching, so you can see right there that is touching. Let's loosen it just a little bit so I can bring that down. So it is not touching, and then you're going to want to line up your rest as straight as you can, just eyeballing. You don't want to have it crooked, forward, backward, or anything. So I like to look at my housing here, and then with that part of the riser back here, and just kind of line that up straight. So we're gonna just take a look here, okay? And then go ahead and grab your big Allen and crank that down nice and snug, and then go ahead and here, your set screw, tighten that down as well. Not too tight, but tight enough that it's not going to go anywhere. So there is the rest mounting, and then we will go ahead and do the timing of it and everything in just a little bit. Okay, next up is we are going to get the D-loop mounted, just snug, not tight. So first things first, grab your D-loop string. It's roughly, what, 4 inches maybe. It's a little bit longer than that serving there on the bow, on the stock string. So you're going to start by roughing up one side. Just fluff it up nice and fluffy. That way you can burn a good solid little mushroom button tip on it. Don't let it burn on fire for very long, because that can cause it to basically charcoal and become more brittle. So right there you can see nice mushroomed tip on the top of that. We're going to flip it over and do the exact same thing on the other side. Cool that off. I just push it right there on the lighter to help mushroom that end. That one is kind of funky shaped. Just heat it up just a little bit and reshape that. Okay, so right there you've got your D-loop material ready to rock and roll. So what you're going to do is make sure that those ends are cooled off enough that you can just sit there and hold it. That way they're not going to melt your serving and they're not going to change shape on you. So right now you are going to make a U with one long end. So see there, you got a U. You can come on the back side and you're going to put both ends through the center of that U. You can make it a little bit longer there. So you're going to grab the longer side, and you're going to pull that. And you're going to pull it up towards where that bow is going to be drawing, so that way that kind of sets in the direction that we want it. You pull it just snug enough that it's going to sit perfect right there. You're going to get the tail, you're going to come on the front side, you're now going to come through the D-loop, and you're going to wrap around the string and then back through itself right through that hole. So we're going to pull this just a little tighter to get a little more slack, and you're going to just shove that little mushroomed end in there. So now you have a very funny shaped D-loop. Looks like it is way too tight. That is totally normal and okay. So we're going to stretch it out just a little bit with my D-loop pliers. Let's pull it just like so. Kind of snug that in, and then bring this. Sometimes the D-loop pliers don't work. We're just going to use a little bit of needle nose. Let's come on this side so you guys can see it. And then just, you can open up your needle nose just enough. Don't snug it super tight, but that way we can adjust it, slide it up and down, depending on if we need to line up directly with our rest. So there is your temporary, so far, D-loop. All right, so now the very most simplest way that I've been able to do this at home with no bow vise or anything to hold the bow is buying these two levels. These are just super duper cheap levels right off Amazon. You got an arrow level there and then a string level here. So what I like to do, I will show you guys. Take this out of the press. And to set up a bow, you always do want a press, I mean, to do the peep sight and everything. And so if you don't have a press, you can still do all of this stuff except for basically your peep sight. So what I like to do is tighten up the fingers right there on my press, and that just, it's a great holder for my bow. Let's grab this arrow. Let's load the arrow in here. So, and, well, okay. And you're gonna put the arrow level right here on the arrow. Make sure that's nice and snug. Okay, and then you wanna use the string level, but you don't wanna put it on the serving. You don't wanna put it halfway on serving and halfway on the string. You just wanna make sure that you are just on bare naked string. And then you can't just let it sit because it is too loose. So you just want to hold it and make sure again that it's just on bare string. And now what I like to do is just adjust it and eyeball where that string is. And once I get that one level, take a peek over at the arrow level, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is pretty dead smack on. I'm happy with that. Okay. So this is level and this is level, and you are good to go. So I got lucky and had that perfectly level. So take your arrow out and then open the fingers back up on the press. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna tighten that D-loop so it is set in stone. All right, as you can see, that D-loop is just sitting there sideways. We want to have it straight up and down naturally. So what we're going to do is twist that. You don't want to be twisting the string, so that's why I left that loose. So you want to make sure that's straight up, because that's going to put your string in line with drawing back. So when you put your peep in, it's not going to have a twist. So now that that's stretched out just a little bit, and I measured having the knock in there, I'll show you guys actually having the knock in there. So this knock, you want snug in there, but you want a little bit of play. You don't want a ton of play, but just enough that when you come to full draw and that string is sitting at an angle, it doesn't pinch off that knock. Okay, so again, that is nice and stretched out. We're gonna hook it here with the D-loop pliers, and then we're gonna stretch it out. Nice and snug. Okay, so that is nice and tight. And again, like I said earlier when I was tying it, this mushroomed end is on this side and this one's on this side. And if you can see, bring the camera over here for you guys. Focus it. So you can see it's kind of at that funky angle. And so it's gonna pull evenly on the left side and right side and not both on the right side or both on the left side. So I like to do that. Shows a little twist there, but it'll pull perfectly straight. Now that we have the D-loop in, rest is on, we want to be able to put this rest timing in the correct timing. So take off the spring. I honestly don't even know what that spring is used for. I should probably look it up. I've used a bunch of these rests, but never have I ever used that spring. So if you know what it is and where to use it, comment below. So let's start here. So this little tightening system here, I like to have it roughly 4 inches of slack both ways, because it's gonna take a little bit of slack from the end down here, okay? So right there, you've got about 3-4 inches of that loop, and then the end of the string. So now we've got that. You're gonna get out of the package, out of the Hamski package, you're gonna get this little rubber pad, and that's gonna mount right here on the limb of your bow. You're gonna grab this, you're gonna come on the inside of your limb, right on that rubber pad. Just make sure it's in one of the grooves on that rubber pad. And you want to pull this basically not as tight as you can, but enough that that rest up here is being pulled down. So you can see right here, rotating, you can pull that down. Sometimes I'll hold that here and then pull. Okay, so now you want to try to keep it nice and snug. And then I like to do a hitch knot here. I'll show you the reason why. So you want to try to keep it as snug as a bug. Okay, so we're gonna hitch tie it. I don't know if it's a double hitch, triple hitch, quadruple hitch, but there's a hitch knot. That is nice and tight. That rest is actually sitting nice and flush. That's perfect. If not, you can always tighten this and pull that down. So let me show you guys up close. We've got that hitch knot right there, and there are a lot of shops or just a lot of people that will tie it, cut that, burn it, and let it sit, and there's really no issue to that. However, I always prepare for the absolute worst. So a lot of times something happens out in the in the woods while you're hunting, and something happens to your rest, something happens to the string, you're done for. So what I like to do is hitch it all the way up. I never cut my remaining slack, because if something happens to my rest or comes out of timing or anything, I will have additional material, additional string to retune it if I need to even switch it on to a different bow that might be longer axle to axle to be able to reach the limbs. So I will make it into just a big gnarly knot, and you just want to make sure it is very snug and not gonna have a little tail on it to get tangled in your cam or make a noise in your cam or anything. So at this point, once you get short enough that you can barely get that last one, pull it nice and tight, and then just like your D-loop, go ahead and just cut this, flare it out, grab your lighter, and then just hold it away from the rest of the string. Just kind of burn that end, burn your hand a little bit. Right there, that is nice and snug, and that way you have all this excess that, you know, if something did go wrong, you can just untie that and have that additional 6-8 inches. And then as well as having this extra, having this extra up here helps a lot too. So that's my little trick with the drop away rest that is going to be attaching to your limbs. And it does look like that is not sitting nice and snug. So again, you're going to take this little contraption to tighten it. And you're going to stretch that string out just a little bit. And then you're going to put that back together to where that is sitting flush and isn't up just a little bit. So that way it completely gets out of the way for when you shoot. Next, we've got a sight to put on. We're gonna be putting on the Option Archery 5-pin with 1 floater sight. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's a pretty sweet sight. So we're gonna be putting that on. I'll show you guys here. So I've got the bracket for being able to put on your quiver as well. Let's grab, actually, we'll just finger tighten it first. Get this puppy on. And once we have the sight on, then that's when we can kind of figure out where we want our peep at. That nice and snug. Oops. I need to get some different Allens, some shop Allens, but again, like I said, everything is minimum tools for these super cheap levels. Like I showed you guys before, I will link in the description down below where I got these. So if you want some, they are really cheap, but they do work really well. I've built 5-6 bows over the last few months, and just here, and then I go to paper tune it, and all of them have literally been absolutely perfect. So I don't know if I just get lucky or if I'm doing something right. All right, so there is kind of what it looks like with that sight. Looks really good. Next is finding out if your rest is sitting in your center shot. So what you're gonna do is grab, hopefully I can show this on, oh crap. Grab your arrow. I need to loosen this rest because I need the rest to be up. So, should have done this before, but it's okay. Okay, so right there we've got the rest up and arrow straight out. So what I like to do is look down the bow. I drop it down to my feet. See if I can. So I drop it down. I'll set this one here on my knee, and I look down the string because the string is obviously straight. Look down the string and match it, line it right up with the arrow, and then I look out at the tip of my arrow and see if it's lined up with your limb bolt. So if that limb bolt's dead center of where those limbs are. And so if you just sit there, it makes it easier if it's sitting on your foot. So line up your string. We are pretty dang close. I probably need to come a little bit to the right. So we're gonna grab our Allen wrench, loosen the screw, and we're gonna literally just barely to the right. Tighten this back down. Nice and snug. Okay, and then go ahead and take another look. Rest it on your foot, line that string up. Money. So that string is now lined up perfectly. So see if I can show it on the camera. So line your string up with your arrow down here, right there. And then the tip of the arrow should be coming out right there, the limb bolt right there. Money. So trying to show you guys as much as I can on camera. It's a lot easier to do it off camera. So now we gotta tighten the rest once again. Put this back here in the press. Undo here. tighten this, make it nice and snug, stretch out that string or the spring a little bit, and hook that back on. So that is nice and tight. That rest is sitting nice and flush. Now time for our peep sight. All right, so right here from the factory comes with a string separating the string directly in half. So you want to make sure that you have this and you do not pull that out until you have your peep sight set. So we're gonna crank down the press and loosen that string and find the center here. Okay, so right there is the center, and then we need to find our peep sight. Okay, here is the peep sight I've got that I'll be putting in it. You want to make sure that the channels here on the side, the angles, are the correct way. So they should be coming, let's see, I gotta always think about it. So they should be going this direction, angled, crossing into it. So there's the front. And then if you lift the string up, it kind of puts tension on it since the tension is pulled off due to the press. Make sure all of your fibers are sitting in the correct, or sitting in the channel nice and snug. The peep sight is probably going to rotate, but we can always adjust, make adjustments. So take the pressure back onto the bow and then make sure that those are sitting in the right channel. I always keep the separating string on there until I am completely done. So I just kind of lift that up there. That peep sight is now where it needs to, well, roughly where it needs to be. If I pull that D-loop, that is way off to the side. So we want it there. Let's see, we want it there and not there. Put the release on, and make sure when you do this, you never do it with the bow empty. You always want an arrow in there, because if your release breaks or anything, you do not want to dry fire it. So you're gonna hook this in. Now that we've got the sight on, we're just gonna see if this peep sight lines up with that sight in a comfortable position. Something, there we go, okay. So I like to close my eyes, come to anchor, touching my nose on the string, and then opening my eyes and seeing where it's at. It is just barely high, so what I'm just gonna do is slide it down just enough. Draw back again. Close your eyes, anchor, open, perfectly lined up. Okay. And even if you can't see through the peep, so like right now it's completely twisted where I can't see through the peep sight, you can line it up to where you can see that it's where it should be. So it doesn't have to be perfectly lined up while you do that. As you can see, the peep is completely rotated to the side. I'm gonna actually keep it there because it was in such a great spot, and we're gonna push in the press and we're gonna add half a rotation to the string. So you're gonna pull that off and we're gonna rotate it half a rotation, and then just make sure you get it back in the right spot. And this is the last chance archery easy green press. I think I got it for like under 300 bucks or something, or maybe 300 bucks. Very good, very well priced. We need to actually adjust my D-loop now. So now that D-loop is straight up and down, that peep is still just a little bit rotated. That is okay. We're gonna use, when we tie it in, we're actually gonna be able to adjust that so it's perfectly straight, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Next, for tying in your peep, grab some serving, and again, I'll just link the serving that I got, cheap but great serving. Link it in the description so you guys can go ahead and get some of that. Cut, this might be a little long, but it's always better to go a little long. What's that? 24 inches, about 2 feet, maybe 3 feet. So what you're gonna do is burn the end so it doesn't fray on both sides, just to be safe. And now, time to take off the string separator, and we are going to tie this peep in. Tie in your peep. You've got your peep set here. You've got your serving that we are going to just do a regular little bow on it, and you're going to go right down the smack middle of that, and you're going to pull that as tight as you can. And then what you're going to do is do the same thing, but that knot is going to be put down here on the bottom. Okay, and then we'll pull that nice and tight. Okay, so you've got just those 2 knots. It's completely wrapped around that peep. And then you're going to just choose one. It doesn't really matter which one. And this one we're going to head down, and we're going to wrap it around. Just go through the middle here. We're going to go 1, 2, and 3. And then with having this one on this side, it's going to help rotate the peep. Just tweak it this way just a little bit because it is wanting naturally to go this way. So having this one on this side and then this top one on this far side, it's going to help rotate that. So now that we have that, now what we're going to do is just wrap around both. You don't have to get it super tight, but keep it kind of snug. Do 3 and then go ahead and pull that tight. And not only do you want to pull it tight, but you kind of want to slide it up as well. So now we've got 3. Let's just add 2 more. So now you've got 5 down there. Pull that tight and up again. So right there, it is nice and snug. You can see that the gap there is pretty tight. So now what you're going to do is you're going to loop here, and you're going to take this tail and loop it into itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times right there. You see that? Okay, so you're going to go into the middle of that loop. Now what you're going to do is you're going to lay the tail across the first 5 loops that you did. And if you did it right, this is going to unravel as you ravel or loop this side. So you want to keep good pressure on this, and you're going to hold, oh crap, you're going to hold that tail and wrap around that tail to where now it's just a loop. You can pull that tail in itself, grab some needle nose and help just pull it nice and tight, kind of wrap it up like you're doing sutures. Okay, right there, nice snug tight bottom. Okay, so now what we can do is cut that off, leave a little tail, that way we can burn it. And then go ahead and grab this one, and this one we start on this side, so we need to make sure we come on this side. And in order to help rotate it that way a little bit extra, I'm going to come down here on the bottom first, come through here and pull this way. See how that's obviously rotating that way because I've got a lot of pressure on it, but it'll hold it and pull that nice and tight to kind of get in that string. Okay, so now that peep is sitting nice and straight just from doing that. So now what we're going to do is go through here, and we want to rotate out because we want to keep that peep that direction. 1, 2, 3, and just kind of space those out just like you did on that side, as you can see there. And now we're going to wrap and wrap. Let's see what I do, 3 wraps, doing the whole string. 1, 2, 3. Pull that nice and snug. And then let's pull that down towards the peep and do it again. 1, 2. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is the same thing. You wanna loop it, and then this one we're actually gonna have to bring over the top because we're gonna be looping it the other way. This side, oh crap, is a little too short, dang it. We'll make it work though. Makes it a little easier if you have it long enough. Okay, come on. So loop through the U. 1, 2. Make sure it's lined up and not tangled. This loop is super small, so it's gonna be a little hard. Okay, get that. We're just gonna do 3, and you're gonna bring it over here. And now, oh crap, I did it the wrong way. I did it the wrong way. We gotta, oops. 1. I've done this so many times and I always screw it up on one side. 2, 3, okay, we've got 3. Now you're gonna take, let's just kind of make that a little tighter. Now let's take, actually let's do one more. Just for good measure. Okay, take the tail, overlap it over the previous 5. Keep this loop as tight as you can. Sometimes it's too small and makes it really hard. Okay, now that it's looped there, pull that, and we're just gonna pull this one a lot because we loosened it quite a bit. So pull and pull down towards the peep. Now that is all tight, not too shabby there. Okay, now let's go ahead and burn off the excess. Be careful not to burn your string. Let's get this side. Okay, so it did, once I tightened that, it kind of pulled back this direction, as you can see. So if I need to, I can take another half turn out of the string and have that more in line. So let's drop back, test it out, and make sure it is still in the right spot. Grab your arrow, lock it and load it. Grab your release again. Okay, and now come to full draw and see if it's lined up. No, it's perfect. It's perfect. I lied. It's perfect. Now, what we're gonna do is kind of try to see where my nose is hitting on the string. So we're gonna mount a Bomar nose button on here. So I just come to full draw anchor and just eyeball where it's hitting. So it's hitting probably an inch just above the serving, so right about there. So what I'm gonna do is just hold that, kind of hold that mark, grab the nose button, just use this black one here, and these clip onto the string pretty good before you have to tie them on. So put that on just roughly where you want it, where you think you want it at least, and then touch it. That's perfect. Perfect. Okay, take your arrow off, put the bow back in the press. Grab a piece of serving and we are gonna tie in the nose button. Let's just do kind of what we did with the peep sight. Start off by doing a simple knot, making sure that you're even tails on both sides so you don't end up like my peep sight. And then do do the same thing, but tie it on the bottom or opposite side. Pull those nice and tight. Now just wrap once, twice on that nose button, and now bring it down to the string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep it nice and snug, that way it doesn't have room to slide up and down the string. And again, grab the loop. 1, 2, come on. I'm just struggling. I'm just cutting my serving way too short. Okay. 4 times, cross back over and bring that loop and undo the 4 there, and then pull that nice and tight. This might be a little overkill for a nose button, but that's all right. Okay, and then you want to make sure that, so there's a slit in, maybe I won't, maybe I will, I don't know. Let's see, there's a slit inside the nose button to where it clips onto the string. I like to bring the other side down into that slit, just that way it's not basically crossing over the little spikes. So let's go 1, 2, 3, let's just do 3, and let's go 1, 2, 3, and bring this over, and then rotate the loop. 1, keeping constant pressure on it. 2 and 3. Go ahead and pull the tail. Keep pressure. Nice and snug. Grab your pliers and snug it up. Just like the peep sight. Go ahead and burn that. Oops, it burnt the spike off that one. On the, and just make sure your flame is always on top or on the side, not underneath your string. That kind of wraps up how to build it at home for the most part. I mean, you got to sight it in still, and if you want, end up taking it into your shop to do some paper tune. So we're gonna drop back, finalize it, make sure nose button is in the right spot, peep sight's in the right spot, and we're gonna shoot it. I got my target right here. Ooh, shoots really nice. Yeah, so that is just a quick way to set up a bow, guys. This is how I set up all of my bows just to start, or if I get anybody into archery, that's how I quickly set it up and get it ready to rock and roll. That way, take this out, shoot it, get it sighted in, and then you know, you can fine tune it at the shop. Now it's time to take it out of the range, sight it in, shoot it a bunch, and get that new Option Archery sight sighted in. But that's it, guys. That's gonna wrap up this video, doing a quick at-home bow setup with very minimal tools. Any tools that I do have and used, I will have down in the description down below. That way you guys can check them out and maybe get some for yourself. So, all right, guys, that's gonna wrap up the video building this Hoyt Ventum 33. Hopefully that helps you with a few tips and tricks doing it at home without very many bow shop tools. I will link any tools that I did use in the description below so you guys can check them out. They are really cheap tools. I mean, pretty sure everything other than this, everything's under $100 for sure. Absolutely. Anyway, that's it. Thanks again, guys. Stay tuned for more videos to come. Hit that like button if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel for more content. It's gonna wrap it up, guys. We'll see you guys next time.